Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, place we discuss all things Usmnt y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man?
Hey, what's up, dude? Not all good over here. Kind of a good Tuesday for us. And yeah, we're in two time zones now. So,
Yeah,
well, we've
yeah,
always been in two time zones. To be fair, yeah,
true.
always.
But that difference was 1 hour. Now we're seven
Exactly.
hours away. Yeah. Sorry, we've gotten kind of delayed here on posting our reactions to the USMNT's recent roster release for the two friendlies against Colombia and Brazil. But as Adrian mentioned, I am actually currently in Europe, so kind of been difficult to schedule a time that works for both of us
Scouting.
here. Yeah, there you go, man. I'm in Italy scouting. Pulisic out here going to see Weah and McKinney. Hoping to run into them on the streets. Nah, but nah, it's been cool, man. Thankfully, we've been able to schedule this time to kind of talk USMNT. They finally released, like we said, that roster of 27 players. That's going to be cut down to 26 for Copa América. Not officially the Copa América squad, but what many are believing to be pretty much more or less, going to be the final 26. With obviously one of these guys getting cut before the big tournament. But Adrian, let me go through the list here, and then we kind of discuss position by position, and kind of give our quick reactions and analysis of what we think's going on in each section here. For goalkeepers, Ethan Horvath, Sean Johnson, and Matt Turner. For defenders, CCV, Kevin Carter-Vickers from Celtic, Christopher Lund, Palermo, Mark McKenzie from Belgium, and Genk. Shaq Moore from Nashville, Tim Ream, Fulham, Anthony Robinson, Fulham, Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, Miles Robinson, Cincinnati, and Joe Scally, Mönchengladbach. Midfielders, he's bringing Tyler Adams, who's not 100% fit still. Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, Luca de la Torre, who's nice to see him back on the list. He missed the last couple matches because he was for the USMT due to injury. Weston McKennie, Juventus, Yunus Musa, AC Milan, Gio Reyna, I guess technically back at BVB now. Malik Tillman, PSV, and the kind of shock random Triple G sprinkle that he had to add to this, Timmy Tillman, LAFC. And then for forwards, Brendan Aronson, Union, Fuller and Balaga and Monaco, Ricardo Pepi, PSV, Christian Pulisic, AC Milan, Josh Sargent, Norwich, Tim Weah, Juventus, and Dare to Haji, hashtag Hajiwright, wrapping up the 27 list for, again, those matches against Colombia and Brazil. The Brazil match on June 13th, the Colombia match June 8th. So, Adrian, man, I think obviously, the big downer here is that Des isn't on the roster, right? I guess he's one of the main starting 11 players, so that's going to be definitely felt. But Triple G had his Triple G magic here, and I guess had some thoughts of his to replace Sergio Dest. We'll get into, but first, let's quickly just mention goalkeepers. I really don't know what's his name, Sean Johnson is doing here. But I mean, the other two I think are the undisputed Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath. Sean Johnson won't play, but I think Matt Turner, like we've seen for the past year and a half now, it's the undisputed number one for the USMNT, even though he
Yeah,
hardly plays.
I agree. I think you can make your argument to Triple G and say like, hey man, we know Sean Johnson he's not gonna play, even if by a very unlucky run, you get both of your keepers suspended or injured, right? He's not someone that you can rely on. So why not just bring a youngster who can benefit from the experience of being with the first team and having just to being around the environment of a Copa America, these kind of friendlies that you normally don't see. So it's just one of those things. Like, well, I'm not too sure if he's super friends with Sean Johnson or what's up. If Sean Johnson is paying some tortas to Triple G, but yeah, I mean, not surprised for the names, kind of sort of what we've seen in the last few matches, but still baffles me to see Sean Johnson on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously know Patrick Scholl from Columbus Crew and Slonina are going to be on the U23 Olympic squad, right? So we understand why they're not being called up, but yeah, I mean, there has to be some other option of someone younger than Sean Johnson, maybe not at the level of Slonina or somebody like that. But I mean,
Celentano, dude.
anybody at this point, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Even though he's been kind of on a rough streak lately,
yeah,
but yeah, let's continue here. Defenders, man. I think we were talking before this, when the roster dropped, and the first thing you noticed was that there was 5 center backs on the list: Carter Vickers, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie, and Tim Ream. I mean, before 10, 15 years ago, USMNT would have been crazy lucky to have, even 3 of these guys. But now there's 5 of these playing in Europe, center backs. Good to have options here. But I think, on the the lateral positions, left back, right back, kind of light with that absence of Serginho Dest, and this is where we kind of see our first Triple G sprinkle coming in here with the call up of Shaq Moore to kind of be that backup to Serginho's backup.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see that. I wonder if he's gonna, fancy the idea of having or playing with a back five line, and that's why he's bringing more center backs just in the event. For example, Tim Ream gets super tired or picks up an injury due to, I don't want to call him that he's old, but just because of nature, right? His body is not necessarily uh, as resilient as it used to be when he was younger. So I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up a small injury or he's just not necessarily match fit back to back, and that's why you have that big roster of center backs, and just understanding that you can probably deploy some other players that normally will have an attacking role within the team as a right wing back or a left wing back in this case.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen for Juventus both Way and McKennie play kind of right back. We've seen Musa do it as well. So, I mean, Triple G said, and I quote, obviously, with Serginho going down, we have to figure out the right back situation. And there's a couple different options we can look at. We have the like for like with Joe Scally and Shaq Moore. We have a winger that can play there with Timmy Weah, who's played there for club. And we have center midfielders who play there like Weston and Eunice, who have played at center back and right back positions before. So definitely something that he has options for. But obviously, like we've discussed in length in its own dedicated video, the Serginho Dest injury is going to be painfully felt for the Usmnt this summer. But moving on, man, to midfield, I think here is one where maybe last time the Usmnt played, it was a little light. But now I think injuries that the USMNT had before a couple months ago are no longer a problem here, knock on wood. Luca de la Torre is back. Tyler Adams is slowly getting back. Johnny Cardoso is playing well. Weston McKennie is playing well. Yunus Musa is still there. Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, who had a great season for PSV and now has signed officially to continue with PSV. But I think the big talking point here is Timmy Tillman, LAFC player, being kind of the odd man out of this midfield. What are your thoughts on him, man?
I mean, if we have to mention a couple of winners on this roster, I would say that definitely the Tillman brothers are winners in here, just because not only because they probably they will have the chance to break another record of being, I don't know which number of brothers or pair of brothers playing for the USMNT at the same time, but I call specifically Timmy Tillman a winner because if you look at the entire roster of eligible players for the USMNT, I would argue that Timmy Tillman isn't necessarily, up there. I can name, Sendejas as a quick, I guess refutal for or I guess option for Timmy Tillman, right? And I'm just, I guess this is Triple G being Triple G. Maybe he has a different plan. Maybe he's seeing the Olympic squad and he just deciding to provide as much support as he can on leaving eligible players that normally will feature on the first team for the USMNT so they can play with the Olympic squad. I'm not too sure what his mentality behind it, or if Don Garver it's making his making his making his
MLS
hands
quota.
yeah, exactly, MLS quota. So I don't know. I would definitely call it as a winner for him, not necessarily for the USMNT per se. So yeah, that's my take on the Tillman brothers. Other than that, I think it's a very common midfield. I don't think there's any other big surprises right there. For all the people that we expected to see, everyone is there. It's nice to see Tyler Adams, even though he wasn't necessarily featured a lot on the second half of the season with Bournemouth. But any big surprises for you? Like, is there anything that you that you feel that we gotta mention here?
No, I mean I think strong midfield for sure.
Yeah,
It's a midfield that
best
definitely
available.
can compete in Copa América. I feel like where the USMNT will lose if they lose in Copa América is going to become because of the defense. I think the defense is a little without Serginho Dest there does not offer that attacking prowess it did before. The center backs. I mean, if he goes to Tim Ream, getting there at older in age, right, slower. But I don't think this midfield I think this midfield's competitive. I think they could do well in this tournament, and I don't think this is a weak spot for the USMNT. Timmy Tillman is the question mark, but again, I think in my opinion he'll be the one that's going to be cut from the 27 to 26. Maybe it's just hey, I want to see you in this camp, how you perform, and yeah, maybe it's the MLS quota. I mean, an LAFC player, right? One of the big clubs in MLS. So he's got to bring somebody, but. No, I agree with you, man. It's a good midfield list that we've seen before, have become accustomed to, and it's good to see that there's no big injury going into this big tournament as of now. So let's hope that's the case here. But for forwards, another talking point we kind of discussed before recording. Four strikers, right? Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Josh Sargent, Hajiwright. Hajiwright always seems to pick up steam and get hot right before major tournaments. It's like he got called up out of nowhere for the 2022 World Cup, disappeared from USMNT for a while, and now it's coming back hot again for another big tournament. Hajiwright, who's probably going to be on the final roster. I mean, we're expecting he might cut one of these forwards or strikers to make it from 4 to 3 strikers if he does cut somebody here. If it's not Timmy Tillman. But I think we're both in agreement that Hajiwright won't be one of the cut players just because of he's not injured. He's not injury prone. He did, I think, what was it, 19 goals in 50 games overall, 16
Yeah.
goals in 44 matches in the championship this season. So he had a good season. And yeah, I mean, deservedly being called up. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the forwards here, man?
Yeah, and just like we saw 5 different center backs, 4 forwards. I think for Triple G was a blessing in disguise because I don't know if you remember on one of our episodes before. I would say like maybe during the Nations League or whatever, we were having this discussion as to who's the go-to striker for Triple G, and he has like this conundrum of either calling Josh Sargent, Folarin Balogun, or Ricardo Pepi, right? So having this 26-man roster actually help him to have these 4 strikers available. Um, and you make a really valid comment. I strongly believe that out of these 4, at least Folarin Balogun and Hajiwright have a set spot, right? I don't expect them to move if it isn't for a heavy injury they sustained during training sessions or whatever. But I think both of them are either the first and second options for Triple G, and Hajiwright being, I think he should be the starting striker based on recent performances and form, not only at club but also at the national team level. But I think we can all agree that Folarin Balogun will be the go-to guy, at least for the very first few minutes or first half. But then we have this question as to whether Ricardo Pepi and George Sargent will both of them make the cut, or if he has to cut one of them, who it will be. I think that he's taking a lot of precaution calling these 4 strikers because we all know that unfortunately for Josh Sargent, he is very injury prone. It's kind of hard for him to stay fit. Even at the end of the season with Norwich City, he struggled to recover from a ankle injury prevented him from playing the last few matches for the I guess getting promoted to the Premier League, right? He lost the playoff against Leeds United and he wasn't even part of the squad, if I'm not mistaken. So on the other hand is also, we all know that Triple G isn't necessarily super fond of Ricardo Pepi, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it drops him in favor of sending him to the Olympic Games. While I think it would be a blow to Ricardo's Pepi, I guess, ego, and also just mental wellness, because again getting dropped by Triple G yet again at the edge of a big tournament will definitely have an impact on him.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just interesting to see what path will Triple G take in this situation, and I should really hope so that Hajiwright doesn't get removed from the list. I think he's the only player that hasn't fallen for the PPG curse myth.
Curse
I think, yeah,
of hyping them up and then them getting injured a week later.
exactly. He
Um,
does the opposite.
yeah, there to Haji. But yeah, it's a quick note. Josh Sargent did play in that match against Leeds where they lost 4-0.
Awesome.
But I
All
mean,
right.
he was so irrelevant that I don't blame you for for not noticing him. The whole Norwich squad was kind of
Yeah.
irrelevant that match. But a good point that kind of have to discuss too. Josh Sargent. Yeah, he might not be 100% fit, but if you look at the other forwards, he has Tim Weah, Brendan Aronson, and Christian Pulisic, guys that play on the wing, right, on the left and right. Josh Sargent can also play on the wing, so that might be another case for him being brought onto the squad to have that depth if he needs him as a striker, if he needs him to go in there and replace Brendan Aronson after 60 minutes or Pulisic, or so that's another plus for Sargent if he is indeed back to are getting close to being back to fully
Yeah.
fit. Um,
And
but
it's interesting that you mentioned the wing stuff, because I was also reading somewhere, and I think I heard Hercules Gomes and Sebastian Salazar on Football Americas saying that for Triple G, or that they were quoting him or whatever, that he mentioned that Hajiwright, the reason why he's bringing Hajiwright is because he intends to use him as a winger, not so much as a striker. So I think that's also guarantees him a spot in this squad. So this makes me think that he's trying to use either McKennie, sorry, yeah, McKennie or Wea as a fullback.
yeah, I mean, we've seen Hajiwright play that role a couple times for Coventry this season, kind of being as second striker, kind of floating on the right side, kind of between striker and wing. So it is definitely something he's played before. So that's an interesting point. Again, that goes back to all that. How is he going to deal with Dest? Right. That's kind of the big question that we're all uh, kind of eager to find out. But yeah, man, it's going to be nice. I think we'll get a good look here in those friendlies, right, against Colombia and Brazil. Kind of
Yep.
what he's thinking, and if he needs to adjust and make changes before that big tournament, that's going to be the time to do it. So good opportunities there to kind of test the waters and see how he plays. But yeah, going to be looking forward to those matches. Going to be looking forward to Copa América. Like we said, PPG. We're going to be covering up this tournament real good, man. So got a lot of previews for Usmnt and Mexico, coming up in the works, and definitely excited for the tournament to start. So, man, as we wrap up this episode, bro, where can listeners find us?
They can also always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Twitter. Sorry, not on Twitter, on Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We're making a conscious effort now to kind of update that more often. Working with a new addition to PPG here to kind of get out some good memes and some quality posts here in the future. So be sure to follow us on Instagram. We got big plans for that going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And another good episode, brother. I'll see you in the next one, man.
Take it easy.
Likewise, dude. See ya.
Bye.